St. Louis Acura is excited to announce the opening of our newly remodeled service lounge. We sell pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models and take pride in servicing what we sell. We offer free pickup and delivery service and a complimentary car wash and vacuum with every service. We also have a full-service reconditioning shop on site that can repair dents, bumpers, and wheels. As the nation's only 29-time Acura Precision Team winner for customer satisfaction, we work every day to make St. Louis Acura better than ever for you.
And welcome back into Weekend Joe, driven by Munganass St. Louis Acura and Munganass Alton Toyota right here on ClaibsOnline.com. Hey, if you've been sick of me talking for the last month or two about the Chicago Triathlon that I'm doing I guess about 10 days from now, well, you're in luck because we got about 15, 20 more minutes of that talk coming up for you right now as we welcome in from WGN in Chicago. He is Mike Lowe, and Mike, you and I are both gonna be trying to do this next weekend, huh?
Yeah, it's I think it's about, like you said, 10 days away, and I think we're both still in the middle of our training and trying to make sure across the finish line. You know, I'm 41, and I was talking to a friend of mine. He said the key is making it to the starting line uninjured at this point, where you're not hurting yourself during training. But things are good. It's fun. You're right. When you talk about it all the time, it kind of takes over your life for a couple months.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the hours that you have to put in. It's funny you mentioned the injuries, because right now I'll speak Chicago for you. You remember the Derrick Rose when you saw like the entire picture of his body with all the arrows pointing to what was hurt on him at some point during his Bulls career? Sure, that's what I feel like right now.
My back, my shoulder hurts. Yeah, everything kind of aches because you've been pushing it on everything for 8-10 weeks or however long you've been training. You're doing the full Olympic one, right? Is what you said?
Yeah, and I feel like it was a bigger and bigger mistake to sign up for that as each day gets a little closer. But I mean, we'll give it a go on August 29th. I saw the Chicago Triathlon with you being with WGN, and you also working for trying to raise money for a charity with all of this. The Chicago Triathlon has helped, I would imagine, has promoted you quite a bit these last several weeks with doing that. So I've seen your training and everything that you've done. And as I was saying earlier in the show, and as I told you before we started here, I had never swam in Lake Michigan before. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, but never once went out there, never did a beach day, definitely never went and swam, to open water swim. But I was up there this weekend to go see Green Day at Wrigley, and I thought, I need to go practice. I need to go do this. So I went out to Ohio Street Beach and saw all the other people doing that, and I walked down 0.65 miles down the wall, and I jumped in, and I thought, what the hell? Let's give this a try. And Mike, that water's a lot different than any kind of lakes or any kind of pool that you'll ever swim in, especially down here in St. Louis.
It's absolutely different from swimming in a pool because, number one, you don't have the benefit of being able to stand up like in 4 feet of water. Number two, you don't have the wall that you're pushing off of to give you momentum. And number three, the water is murky. So it's hard to see where you're going. So you have to work on sighting as well as breathing. And by that, I mean like sticking your head up and looking at a point to make sure you're going where you're supposed to be. Because if you're zigzagging, you're swimming more than you need to be. But you mentioned Ohio Street Beach. And when we the folks at the Chicago Triathlon, that's a place where people from around the world come to do open water swimming. It's actually considered one of the best places in the world because you've got that long straightaway along Lakeshore Drive. And then you have essentially those rounded breakwaters that create kind of a calm bay. So even though you're in a Great Lake that is obviously sometimes choppy, that water right there at Ohio Street Beach is typically pretty calm and very conducive to open water swimming. But yeah, you kind of, when you're in the open water, you lose all the sort of lifelines that you would have in a pool. So what trainers have told me is like, yeah, you got to get in there 2 or 3 times a week. I'm like, 2 or 3 times a week. Number one, it's an ordeal to get there, and you're sandy, and you got to find a place to put your stuff. So it's just a big exercise just to do it, rather than doing it in a pool where you might have a locker and all that stuff right on site. But there's nothing like training in the actual lake that you're going to be swimming in.
And I know you did this, you said in 2019. Was that your first time doing something like this?
That was the first time I did anything like this. And they actually ended up canceling the swim that day because lake levels were at record highs, and it was like an undertow and very choppy water that day. So it was just unsafe. And I don't know if it was the first time they've ever canceled the swim. The Chicago Triathlon is the largest triathlon in the world. It attracts more than 10,000 athletes every year. And so they don't want to have to do that. But this one in 2019, they had to. And then it was canceled in 2020. I said, I'm going to come back and do it in 2020. And then it was canceled because of the pandemic. So this year, you alluded to why we're promoting this and raising money for the American Heart Association. My colleague, Erin Ivory, who's a reporter at WGN, was an outstanding endurance athlete. She did Ironman races, she did the marathon, and then did the Chicago Triathlon every single year. And she was such a great help to me back in 2019. Just coaching the little stuff, like how to get through transition, like roll up a towel and put a granola bar in there so that you can like have that in between, like all the little things that if you didn't know anything about it. And just for people who aren't familiar, like you have to go through this area called the transition in between each stage. So when you swim, you come out and you go back to where your bike is. And there's like an order to how you have to do it.
Yes.
On your bike until you cross a certain line. And there are all these little rules, which they go over with you at the orientation a couple of days before. But to get back to the story about Erin Ivory, she was very, very helpful to me. And this year she suffered a heart attack. She's around my age, early 40s. And so she can't participate this year. And who knows if she'll ever be able to do this kind of stuff again. So we said, let's do one in her honor here at WGN and do it for a good cause, raising money for the American Heart Association because she suffered a heart attack. So that's why I'm doing it. But hey, the side effects of losing a little of the pandemic weight doesn't hurt either.
It is the first, back to the swimming, the first time I got in there and it was a little cold. I don't have my wetsuit yet. So I was just in there in the tri-suits and it was a little chilly, but it wasn't until that first wave kind of hit me in the face that you kind of look at it and you go, oh, okay, like this, and there is just so much to this that I feel like I am learning something new each and every day going into this, that it's like, oh, I have to prep for this, I have to prep for that. And I mean, God knows what I'm going to learn at this orientation, that you have to do on the Saturday before too.
Yeah. The thing, I think, just talking to a bunch of people, because we've been doing these reports called Triathlon Tuesday, where we talk to coaches and stuff about training. And it seems to me, to everyone, the biggest barrier to doing a triathlon is the open water swim. That's what scares most people and keeps most people away, because everyone else, most people can run, most people can bike. And really, if you have to do it in the race, you can jog, you can walk, you can pedal slowly, but you can't stop swimming in the middle of lake. Like, you have to be able to do that, or you sink. And obviously on race day, they have boats, lifeguards and things. So it's really not a risk, hopefully, of getting serious, but you really have to be able to do it. But you mentioned the waves, right? Unlike a pool where the water is relatively calm, this is a great lake. Like, you are going to have waves, you're going to have other athletes in the water. I mean, that when you start in your heat, it's like a cattle call. Like, you're getting kicked in the face, elbowed, and it's not intentional. It's just everyone's in the middle of that. So one of the coaches I talked to said, you should just wait 15 seconds. Like, if you're not trying to be Michael Phelps and win it, if you're just trying to complete it, not necessarily compete, then give yourself a little room from the pack. But yeah, there are all these other things that you have to contend with. whether it's waves or the other swimmers. And then, of course, the murky bottom, unlike a pool where you can see the stripe on the bottom and follow that straight, you've got to figure out a way that you're going to be able to sight, where you need to go and try and swim straight.
You keep mentioning the murky water, and it's funny that you mentioned that, just because since I swam on Sunday out there, the lake that I've been using down here for practice is so dirty that swimming in Lake Michigan was like swimming in a pool for how clear it was. That I look at that and I was like, man, that was real nice. But yeah, no, it's nothing like an actual swimming pool where you can see the bottom.
Right. That's one of the things that makes this a fun triathlon is it's Lake Michigan. So it's one of the largest sources of fresh water in the world. It's relatively clean when you think of smaller lakes. Like it's a nice place to swim. And then you've got the backdrop of the Chicago skyline, and it's a beautiful setting. It's just hard to do.
I mentioned you talked about the groups and everything that you're in. So right now I'm weighing in at about 213, and my plan was to be under 210 for this race. But I saw what?
You're almost there.
Oh yeah, I easily could get there by then. But I saw, as I'm going through all the age groupings, the Clydesdale grouping that's over 220, and I kind of thought, do I eat a couple cheeseburgers, or do? But the groupings and everything that you have too, and I mean, there's so many people in each one of these. It's how many people are they expecting there for the race?
It's I don't have the numbers, but a typical year would be about 10,000. And they have told me they think it's going to be fewer than that this year because of the pandemic, and that they're scaling back. And I think they limited maybe by 1,000 or something what they normally would do. So it's not going to be as big as previous years. Hopefully they'll return to that within a year or two, but there'll still be quite a few people out there. And in terms of the heats and the groupings that you're in, I want to say the one that I was in the year prior was like 50 people. So I think they break it up like that. And then, obviously there's waves of times that you go, and people who are doing certain distances go at a certain time. And then, as you said, there's age groups. Is it recreational? Is it competitive? Are you a Clydesdale? Groups, but that's a funny way to put it.
I know. I wonder what the process was, or what some of the other names they kicked around before coming up with Clydesdale for it.
We call them
on that.
I don't know. Should we call them the refrigerators? I don't know.
One of the cool things that the website does is they have the videos, and it just 3-minute short increments, kind of telling you what you're in for. And it still can be a little intimidating when you watch the actual and see what the swimming portion is going to look like, or the transition area where you see just the thousands of bikes that are sitting there for that. And you watch that and you kind of get in your own head for some of this. But I was watching the biking one today, and one of the really cool things you mentioned, all of the scenery and the layout. You're running, you're swimming, and you see the skyline right there. The biking actually takes you down through Lower Wacker. So for a brief minute or so of that biking, I mean, you're Batman.
Yeah, that's true. The Dark Knight Batman Christian Bale series was mostly shot in Chicago, and a lot of those fun chase scenes were on Lower Wacker Drive. But that's only a brief part of it. It's like getting from the transition area to where you get onto Lakeshore Drive, which has since been renamed DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Just to make sure I get that right. But one of the things too, and I don't know how often you've been on that outer drive in Chicago, but I think most people tend to think of Illinois and Chicago as pretty flat terrain. And you're focused when you're driving on either the skyline or the lake, which is right next to you. But if you are biking it, you suddenly realize how hilly Lakeshore Drive is. And it's actually a really, I mean, I shouldn't say it's not a monumentally tough bike ride, but it's more than just a flat bike ride. And you find that out really quickly. And it's cool because it's, you got the sun rising over the lake, and you're on a wide open DuSable Lakeshore Drive, and you have it all to yourself and the other triathletes, of course. But it's a really cool scene. And then the run is along the lakefront too, so it's all right on Chicago's kind of front doorstep there. And there is some, like, if nothing else, when you're like huffing and puffing, you can at least be like, well, there are worse places to be.
And then to top it all off, as I mentioned, I feel like such an idiot when I look at how hard this is going to be. I'm also going to be back up there in 2 months to do the marathon too. So that'll be
on top of this. Wow.
Yes.
Well, you're going to be in the best shape of your life, like right around October 15th or something like that.
No, it'll be the moment I finish the marathon. It'll be the best shape of my life, because then immediately I'm going to start drinking again and probably take down an entire Giordano's pizza. So that's
well, you will have earned it at that point. I mean, this is too, like, the triathlon's enough, and then to add the marathon on that, a little more than a month later, that's my hats off to you, sir. That's really a lot.
Mike, I know that you already hit your goal for the American Heart Association, but people can still donate if they choose to, right?
That's right. If you go to my Instagram, which is at Mike Lowe Reports, we have the link right there. And then on the WGN website, if you just type in Triathlon Tuesdays, there's a link that'll take you right to where you can contribute. They asked, are we going to set a goal? What would be a good goal? I was like, I don't know, 5,000. We got there. We've still got 2 weeks to go. And, I'm just a local news reporter. So I don't know that, it's not like I'm a major celebrity that's going to raise $10 million or something like that. But every little bit helps, and every bit of heart health awareness we can get out there, it makes sense, because most of us will be touched by that, whether we have it or not. Someone in our life statistically will. So it's a good cause. The American Heart Association is like the Girl Scouts. Like, everybody can get behind that.
Well, Mike, best of luck to you. Do you have a time in mind? Do you have a set goal that you're putting out there?
No, I kind of talked a little bit about this, but I am not in this to get to a specific time. I just want to finish it. And I'm so far removed from the days of being an athlete. I was in high school. I was a football player. I was a running back, and I wrestled and did track. So I have some of that background, but that's 25 years ago. So, and I've tried to stay in somewhat good shape, but I've yo-yoed, as we kind of do when we get older. So I'm just trying to get back in shape, finish it. And that's the accomplishment in and of itself. Then maybe if I do this the next time, I can say, oh man, all right, there was my baseline. I'm going to see if I can beat that. And so I really don't know in terms of a time. Why do you have a specific goal?
So my goal it's the same for the marathon, is I want to finish both at around 3 hours and 30 minutes. And I know the swimming is just going to beat me up so much for this that it's so hard to kind of pick a time, because I don't know what that's going to be, what that swim's going to be like with the adrenaline going that day. Were
you able to complete the swim when you did it after the Green Day concert?
I did it before. So I did it Sunday morning, and then Green Day was later that night. So all I swam was 0.65 miles.
Okay.
And that took a few stops, because I had the buoy attached to me, and a few stops, and I think it took me about 38 minutes to do that.
Well, the thing is, I would say don't worry about the number, and remember, in the swim you can do different strokes.
Yeah.
You don't have to do freestyle the whole time, which is pretty tiring. You can kind of give yourself some recovery with the breaststroke, and then you can also do the backstroke if you want, where you're breathing the whole time. Your face is out of water. So there are ways to do it where you're still advancing yourself, but giving yourself a little bit of recovery during the swim. And don't worry about the time. To me, it's just it's the accomplishment is in finishing it. Get to the finish line.
Yeah, that and and you too. You have the I saw you. What, you got a Northwestern swimmer to come out and teach you and help you. It's you got the resources up there.
Well, that's one of the things about being like on to get people to come and help with these segments that we're doing. And so we got some experts to kind of talk about it with the hope that we're also teaching other people about it, so it's not just me. We're telling the entire audience.
Well, Mike, best of luck to you. Maybe we run into each other next weekend, and we can we can hopefully at the finish line, around the finish line at the after party, whatever, we cross paths somewhere along there.
Sounds good. I'll look forward to it. And thanks again for having me on, and good luck to you on